Hey guys, Carrot197 again. This time a review of the 160 scale Dom from the original Gundam series. And the first warning I'm gonna give, this is of course an antique kit all the way back from the 80s, so that means it's gonna require glue, and technically it would also require painting, but the painting required is very minimal, because what you see here is the Dom without a lick of paint on it, and overall it's very faithful to the anime. The only thing that you have to paint is the yellow here for the beam scatter gun, the red on the head, and then also yellow for his heat saber. And other than that, all the colors are pretty much spot on. One other thing I have to comment on is how did this thing went together? Well, all the parts seem to fit together very well, with one big giant exception. No matter how much I tried, I simply couldn't get these parts to fit together. I mean, I have to push with all my strength to even get those two parts to go together. And even when you look at it like this, they don't even line up correctly. So yeah, these side skirts were an extremely big pain, and it's gonna definitely require some model kit building skills to really get that to look good. But fortunately, when you look at it from the front, it's not that painfully obvious. And well, this part will be covered up shortly once we give him his giant bazooka. And then for colors, we of course get overall a very nice purple. We get black, gray, and then one sticker for the eye camera. Yes, you actually get a sticker for that. And for this, we get the choice. You get, well, actually, when I open this up, it reveals a secret compartment for batteries. And, oh yeah, would require 2 extra metallic parts, which you do get, but unfortunately you don't get the actual wiring or the LED. So they're essentially giving you a battery pack telling you, hey, go out and buy an LED. It's not like Bandai hasn't done that in the recent past now, have they? Anyways, so you can choose to either put this on there, or you get an extra little tube part in which you would put the LED and then hook it up with the head. So essentially this whole body is hollow for the wiring to go through. So if you want to do that, if you have a spare LED hanging around, well, that is a very cool feature. All of these 160 scales feature, well, at least all the old 160 scales. Then onto articulation, which is of course going to be not quite as impressive as the paint, well, as the overall look of this model. The head doesn't move at all. The arms do rotate around all the way. And one more piece of good news is all of the joints use polycaps. Very surprising, perhaps for a kid of this age, but all the 160s feature fully polycap joints. But I gotta say that it still feels a little bit dangerous to move these parts around too much. Then the elbow at one joint, but we're getting actually quite a lot, more than 90 degrees, which is better than some of the recent high grades can do. And believe this, the hands are on ball joints, and really quite unique ball joints, because this might actually look like a peg, but it's a mini ball joint, and then you just hook up the hands. So yeah, that's some really nice technological advancement going on right there. And thanks to the battery compartment, he goes forwards and backwards. It's not a really strong joint, but it's just really nice to see that he has some unique mobility going on. Then the legs, well, no waist movement at all, no side to side. Legs go forwards, backwards, and that's about as far as they're gonna go, because those giant upper legs do get in the way a little bit. Technically, they can go outwards. I mean, when you look at the joints, they could do it, but these side skirts just don't give you enough room to really do that. The legs. This is as far forwards as we're gonna go, and it already looks like they're bent. Then they go a little bit backwards, and that's really all you're getting. A very stark contrast to the arms. Then the feet go a little bit forwards and backwards, and also side to side quite nicely. But like I said, there's really no point in having the feet go side to side because the legs can hardly go in and out. Still, I guess it was nice of them to include that. So as far as poses go, you can kind of try to put it... Oof. And that is why I generally do not like to move these around. Because their joints, well, like I said, the joints, they always feel a little bit dangerous when you're moving around because at any moment it feels like something could break. My advice is build them, put them in a pose, and try not to move them around too much, because the way these joints are built, if you, for example, move the feet forwards too much, they will actually snap this, as just happened. So like I was saying, you can put him in a semi-convincing hovering pose, but that's about all you're going to get out of the legs. You're not going to do a shark kick with that, or not even a really convincing walking scene, because... Oh my god. That's great. Putting that back, and we're gonna go into the accessories before I wreck this entire thing and I have to put it together again. So accessory that's already on the machine is the heat saber. And I'm gonna have to do some dangerous stuff again, because the way to put it in there is there's a polycap in there, but when you first do it, it really doesn't want to go in there. So you have to push really hard, and you're constantly going to fear that you'll break something. And it doesn't want to feed through. There we go. But once it's in there, it's in there. Unfortunately, the hands could have been a little bit stronger, but you can get it in some decent poses. And thanks to those ball joints, thanks to the polycap that's in there, the saber isn't going to fall out. And believe it or not, but the arm is actually strong enough to hold it up. So kudos for that. The heat sword is a big yes. Then the final accessory you were getting is, of course, you guessed it, a trigger finger hand and the giant bazooka. And one cool thing is, it's extendable. And this is of course to replicate the anime scenes in which the black tri-stars kind of hold it underneath the arm. Because if you want it fully extended, it's just not gonna work. So they said, well, put it like that and it will go under the arm. Because, yeah, it's not well enough articulated to put it over the shoulder. It's just not gonna work. You'd have to cut off the back of the ammo cartridge. And then some more moving going on. This here rotates around. This little thing also moves, and that's it. Unfortunately, this is a little bit on the loose side. And then you just put that in there. In you go. There we go. You maneuver it around there, and even more good news is he can actually hold it with both hands. And then you can try to extend a little bit, and if you squeeze it in between, it will actually stay up for a while. There we go. So that's one pose you can pull off, or when you would remove this, pulling it out, be careful, and then kind of turn it. Well, you can do two things then. You can either try to go for a more shooting pose, put it down, and then like extend it and put it in there, or you can go for the hovering pose, extend it like this, in it goes, and then arc him forwards a little bit. And then two final things before we're gonna move on. First, we're also getting a right closed fist hand, which can, just like the left hand, hold the heat sword. And then one more piece of articulation on the giant bazooka. The scope goes up and down. As always, the inevitable question is, do you want to buy this? And well, it's, as always, a very difficult question to answer for these older kits, because first of all, you're gonna need glue. Fortunately for this one, you don't really need to do any painting for it to look good. So, if you're willing to glue this kit together, then this is absolutely a very nice kit to get. It's big, it's impressive, it's anime accurate, and overall it goes together pretty well and looks pretty good just as a straight build with a couple of panel lines on there. Of course, it did have a few problems like the sides cut here, and then, well, you might have seen that a few pieces got loose, but seriously, it's a kit you glued together when you try to move that around too much, and yeah, when these joints are fighting against you a little bit, that's just something that can't really be avoided. But as far as old kits go, this is really, really one of the better ones. If only it hadn't been for the side cuts, this would have been absolutely perfect, well, as perfect as these old kits get. So if you're not afraid to glue it together and you want a big dome, then this is absolutely a kit I can totally recommend. And for size comparison, here he is next to the normal Zaku 2 and Char Zaku 2. And you can see that scaling in between them is pretty good. The dome should be a little bit bigger than the Zaku, and he is just a little bit bigger. Also, there is definitely some nice improvements made on the dome. We have the hands now in ball joints rather than pegs. We have the waist articulation here. So overall, a really nice kit. And then, how about we end this review with a completely unfair comparison. The perfect raid, Strike Gundam. Yeah, I guess we can conclude that paying more gives you a little bit better quality. But proportion-wise, the dome is once again a little bit bigger than the Strike. I gotta say, even next to the perfect raid, well, for the price you're paying, not too bad. And that's all for this review, and see you guys next time.